On this first Sunday of what we consider the summer, it's appropriate for our gospel story to concern the Sabbath. Sabbath is an important biblical precept. We have been commanded to keep Sabbath. There are two versions of the Ten Commandments in the Hebrew Bible, one in Exodus and one in Deuteronomy. The Exodus version says to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, because after God created the world in 6 days, he then rested on the seventh day, and so we should too. The commandment as written in Deuteronomy says to observe the Sabbath and keep it holy, as it is the day to remember that God delivered God's people out of slavery in Egypt. Both versions declare that this remembrance or observance means that on the seventh day we should do no work. We should rest. What constitutes work has been a hotly debated topic ever since Moses came down from the mountain with those tablets. Is doing good work, but still an appropriate Sabbath undertaking? Or is doing good an activity that is not work, but a joyful extension of God's generosity to others? But meanwhile, the concept of rest has been downgraded from a commandment and holy activity of God to a poor excuse for lazy people, or a feature of decrepitude, or a sign that someone just isn't up to dealing with life. And there's the undeniable truth that our society expects everything to go, 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 24/7, 365. We're supposed to be productive. We're supposed to be on. We're supposed to get things done and be hard workers and never let up. This is what our society values now. Not rest, not reflection. Even clergy sabbaticals, if they are to be funded by a certain foundation, are supposed to entail a project, a product, a proof that the time will be well spent. If you want to just rest on your sabbatical, then you have to pay for it yourself. But here we are at the beginning of the time we call summer vacation, even if we are not on vacation and it's not yet summer. And Jesus asks, what is the Sabbath for anyway? Isn't it about holiness? Isn't it about reaching out to God who calls to us over the noise of the world? Sure, we have stuff to do. People to see, places to go, home repairs, papers, legal briefs, memos to write. Many of us don't have the luxury of taking a whole day to rest on a Sunday or any other day. I work on Sunday. Some clergy say that, well, whatever their day off is, that's their Sabbath. But often that means that that's their day to go to Target or to regrout the bathroom tiles or write their sermon. And young parents don't get to just go lie down in the yard and look up at the clouds all afternoon while the kids are indoors drawing with crayons on the new dining room wallpaper. But we must take time to rest for our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. We need time for reflection. We need time to just be. We need time to remember our blessings and be grateful for them. We need time to look at the flowers or lie in the shade and read a book for the pure pleasure of it. Our world and the way we live now doesn't make it easy to stop, but glorifies busyness and productivity. Our world doesn't make it easy to pay attention and stretch out our own hands toward God, to be healed of the things that have eaten away at us and diminished us. But we must take the time, or we will wither ourselves. Last year on my self-funded sabbatical, I visited the French city of Le Puy-en-Velay, where the most popular French pilgrimage route to Santiago, the Way of St. James, begins. Ancient volcanic activity in that area resulted in a few tall, skinny outcroppings of hardened magma that create platforms for statuary or buildings. One such building is the Chapel of St. Michael on the Rock, a 10th century church perched on top of a nearly 1,000-foot tall volcanic plug. To get up to the chapel, one has to climb 268 steps that are carved into the rock. You should Google it. It's either. I pondered this a while. I really wanted to go up and see the chapel's 10th century frescoes. And I really dreaded the effort that I knew that it was going to take to get up there. But the helpful person at the entry said that along the way there were a few benches where one could stop to catch one's breath. So I paid my €6 and started up the steep climb. When I got to the first bench, I almost passed it by. I wasn't tired yet. But then I decided to stop and sit. The bench was situated so that while seated, one could gaze into a small but lovely garden space dedicated to Archangel Raphael. It was a nice view. I decided I didn't need to hurry. After a while, I started out again, and the next bench afforded a gorgeous vista out over the city of Le Puy. This was worth a stop, I thought. So I sat and enjoyed that view for a little while as well. The last bench was on the other side of the rock where one could gaze out into the countryside. Definite stop. I lingered there as well. A couple coming down from the chapel stopped and said to me, you're practically at the top now. They were friendly, but the unasked question was, so why are you stopping here? I smiled and said, that's good, thank you, in my terrible French. And I lingered a while longer. The church was a wondrous place. It was worth the climb. The frescoes were fascinating, and the atmosphere inside was so cool and quiet and sacred and holy. After all, people had been saying their prayers in that space for over 1,000 years. I stayed a long time. Among the ancient paintings, there is a faint one of a man reaching out to touch the hand of another man. There's also a painting of the hand of God, reaching out to touch and restore the weary soul of a climber of 268 rocky steps. We must take the time to rest, or we will wither ourselves. Sabbath time is necessary. Sabbath time is holy. Sabbath time is commanded by God. Even a few hours, a few minutes of rest to remember and to be grateful and truly see all the loveliness that God has surrounded us with will give us joy and peace.